had the dates wrong all this time. Diddy, come on out.
P. Diddy himself. Let's talk about them kids. What do we know about these kids? Let's get into it. I'll tell you who did know a lot about kids. Erickson. You gotta know these. Memorize them. I ain't got much else to say. Next, we're gonna move into our neurodevelopmental disorders. IDD. Guys are just stupid. They have an IQ less than 70. They struggle with social concepts, practicality. They can't read, just IDD people, man. Causes, they can be genetic, can be prenatal. So like if your mom's throwing back one too many beers when she's pregnant, yeah, he's gonna have the IDD. And then environmental, like if your baby's eating lead paint off the walls, yeah, that's gonna make them a little crazy. So medications for IDD, we want to use antipsychotics. That's gonna be like your haloperidol, risperidone, stuff like that. You have your autism spectrum disorders. This includes your Asperger's, childhood dysregulation disorders, your Rett syndromes, all that stuff. It's more common in boys. They can have social deficiencies, so they're not going to make eye contact with you. They're not going to make facial expressions a lot. They can have delayed speech, echolalia, so they could be saying what you're saying. They could have repetitive behaviors, meltdowns. You guys know this. So medications is going to be your atypical antipsychotics. And this is just like if they're aggressive or something like that. Think of them like in the Eastern state, when somebody with IDD was having a meltdown, they would go give them an injection. That was the atypical antipsychotic. So in other meds, we can have naltrexone, or some stimulants maybe. So that's going to be your methamphetamines, like your Adderall, stuff like that. Speaking of Adderall, we're going to go into ADHD. ADHD, this affects your prefrontal cortex. So think about your prefrontal cortex. What does that do? That's your impulsivity, your decision making. So that's going to be going crazy. So also your dopamine can be impaired. Dopamine, doped, so this is your energy, your alertness. And norepinephrine as well. This is kind of getting that heart pump and stuff like that. Think of somebody with ADHD. So this is treated with stimulants. So this is going to be your meth. It is literally meth, guys, prescription meth. I think it's like a class 2 in pharmacology. So this is going to be your methamphetamine, your dextroamphetamine, and you have non-stimulants, which is going to be your bupropion, which is your only NDRI. That's Wellbutrin. And then, what is this one? Amotextine. We have to watch the liver function with that one. The rest of them pretty basic. So stimulants. If we're prescribing somebody a stimulant, it's exactly what it says it does. It's going to stimulate your body. So we need to watch for cardiac arrhythmias with this especially. So stimulants help with ADHD to slow down the brain, kind of calm everything down, which is kind of contraindicated, but who knows, man. Also, somebody with ADHD, we're not want to give them a lot of sugar because this is just going to make them go even crazier. Think of like a kid in a candy store. That's ADHD. So maybe you have a family, they don't want to take meds. That's perfectly okay. That's their decision. As nurses, we're the patient advocate. So something we can do is encourage caffeine intake. So maybe like a black coffee, maybe some tea, stuff like that. Just make sure there's no sugar in it because that'll just make it worse. Tic disorder and Tourette's. So Tourette's is the worst kind of tic disorder. So they're going to have less tics when they're sleeping, of course, and they're going to have more tics when they're stressed. Tic disorders are caused by stress. So if we see a 7-year-old who's having rapid eye blinking or kind of like hitting themselves in the chest or maybe they're shouting a bad word, we know this child is having some kind of internal stressor. So to treat tic disorder or Tourette's, we want to do CBT, and we want to figure out what's causing this. Medications is really a last resort for this. So when we see tics, usually they manifest as they manifest as motor tics first. So they'll be doing maybe rapid blinking, maybe they'll be hitting themselves, and then that's going to progress into your verbal tics. So we can also use antipsychotics, and that's just going to be your risperidone once again. And then sometimes they can even have a stutter, and of course that's going to get worse when they're stressed out. Common sense stuff. Then you have your learning and communication disorders, which is going to be your dyslexia, your dyscalculia, and your dysgraphia. You can have speech disorder, which is going to be stuttering. So maybe we need to get speech therapy involved, just different stuff like that. So that's really it for that category. And then we have disruptive behavior disorder. So we have oppositional defiant disorder. So ODD. If we do not treat ODD, this is going to evolve into antisocial personality disorder. Hear me when I say that. If we do not treat ODD, it will evolve into antisocial personality disorder. But the good thing about ODD is we can intervene and it can regress, okay? So it can get better, it can go away. So symptoms, think of like an angry kid in elementary school. They're hostile toward authority figures. They don't want to do what their teachers are saying. So ODD doesn't have serious violations of social norms, but antisocial does. So antisocial is going to be in jail. ODD, no, they're not. They're just kind of stepping out of line, talking back, stuff like that. So how we as nurses can help treat ODD is, let's say Johnny, he doesn't want to do his math test, and he's not gonna do his math test. Well, we're gonna send Johnny to the principal's office. But when Johnny comes back and he does do his math test, we're gonna give Johnny a reward, whether that be extra recess, something like that. So it's good behavior management, and that has to be consistent. That's how we treat ODD, is, reinforcing that good behavior. Then we have conduct disorder. ODD will evolve into conduct disorder and then antisocial. So conduct disorder, this is where we're kind of getting in that iffy category, stuff like that. And so that's going to be more risk takers. Maybe we're stealing stuff. Maybe we're threatening people. This is your middle school age. I want you to think ODD, elementary. Conduct disorder is CD, middle school. And then antisocial is your high school. Okay, and that's kind of the progression of this disruptive behavior disorder. Okay, and so CD, you're going to be starting to steal, threat, stuff like that. Once again, this can regress. We can get rid of it, but we have to do that good behavior management. Then there is IED. This is explosive disorder. So maybe I'm being good, I'm on the right track or like that, and then all of a sudden, Johnny punches me, and that just sends me over the edge. Why am I being so good, but Johnny can be bad? So I just explode, totally explode. I'm hitting walls, I'm cursing, I'm doing all this stuff. That's the explosive outburst, okay? That's your explosive disorder. That's gonna last over 30 minutes, okay? So this is not going away like a tantrum. This is lasting longer than that. And medications, we can use fluoxetine or lithium. Lithium's a mood stabilizer, so it's going to kind of keep us on that level. Maybe not getting to that high where we're going to explode, okay? So I want to touch on lithium and different mood stabilizers. So a lot of the time, we're going to give anticonvulsants and mood stabilizers. We can use anticonvulsants as mood stabilizers. And the reason that is, I touched on when I was lecturing earlier. So when we give a mood stabilizer, think of it, or a seizure. Think of a seizure. Your brain's going bam, 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 super fast, and your brain can't keep up with that information. So it goes into a sensory overload, and then you start having a seizure. So it's too much neuroelectricity all at once. So what that anticonvulsant is going to do is kind of slow everything down. It's going to block that sodium channel. So it's the exact same thing with a mood stabilizer. What that's going to do, think of somebody, these big highs, these big lows, their brain's doing the same thing that someone with a seizure is. It's just in a different low. Somebody with a mood disorder, their brain's going bam, 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 bam. Okay? So that lithium, it's a salt, so maybe that's why we're checking these levels, is because it's going to block these sodium channels in the brain, and it's going to slow that brain down where we're not having these outbursts and sensory problems. I hope that really cleared that up. So with intermittent explosive disorder, just do the CBT as well. They can also have OCD, and that's going to look the exact same as the adults, guys. Exact same thing. So ADHD, I really want to touch on. This is a really key point she highlighted in lecture. With ADHD, we have to tell them no. Just boom, straight to the point. Because their brain is going 50 miles an hour, okay? They can't concentrate on one thing. So think about it, you're a teacher and you see your kid on the playground and they're fixing to run into a big snake pit. You're not going to say, oh no, hey Johnny, stop, there's a snake pit. Because their brain's not going to get that. They're focused on 50 different things. You have to be to that point. You have to say, stop. Boom. Direct communication with ADHD. And that's really it, guys. That's your childhood disorders.